Hi there, it's the Frankenstein. In this edition of the prototype, we'll be featuring a fragrance discussion on clones, a very popular topic indeed. Now, what are clones? Clones are inspired expression or dupes, are fragrances that try to mimic or copy another popular fragrance in essence. And in this discussion, we're going to weigh up the cons and pros of clones and where do I stand with them. In drawing the metaphorical brush quickly over so many issues and arguing for such linkages, I am bound to offend many. This sketch that I bring to you in the form of a discussion may seem like I'm favoring one side over the other, but I assure you I'm sitting on the fences with this one. Okay? These pros and cons have been pulled out from multiple forums across FragCom, from discussion groups, from Facebook groups, and this is an objective view on what people have to say about clones. But in any case, I will provide my own reflections on this very contrasting issue. So without any further ado, let's start with the cons, and the pros shall follow. See you after the intro. So let's start with the most obvious one. Clone companies profit off the artistry and creativity of other major perfume brands. There is no doubt that they invest in their fragrances, but their basic business model is to replace a perfume with a gas chromatograph. Now this has implications from an ethical standpoint on two folds. Firstly, they are violating the fragrance market by cashing in on the success story of a popular DNA. Secondly, when you're replacing perfume with a gas chromatograph, you're effectively encouraging the diminishing of art at work. Okay, there's two analogy that comes to my mind that may be more relevant to this. Firstly, let's think of a hypothetical. Okay, imagine someone owning the artwork of Mona Lisa and someone owning an artwork that is similar to the artwork of Mona Lisa, and there's no doubt that they may share similar paintbrushes and other raw materials, but the person who owns the original Mona Lisa will undoubtedly have the bragging rights of the artistic value that the art possesses. In no shape or form can the person who owns the similar painting can have that similar bragging right. On another note, let's think about another example. Let's think about you staying in a 5-star hotel. Now when you're staying in a 5-star hotel, you're paying for the premium. You're paying premiums because of the whole package, the whole ambience the hotel provides, the brand recognition of the hotel. You're paying for top-notch foods from the 5-star hotel restaurants. You're paying for the basic amenities and the luxuries it offers. Similarly, when you're opting for an original renowned brand, you are not only just paying for a bottle, you're paying for the presentation, the perfume, the quality of the ingredients, the brand recognition. You get the gist. This swiftly brings me to my second point. Now there is no guarantee the clone will smell the same as the original. 90% of the clones will not smell 100% similar to the original. So even if you get a clone, it could leave rooms for a lot to be desired for. Thirdly, there's uncertainty over the quality of the ingredients used in a clone and also its presentation. Now, while some clones may use good synthetics, on a flip side, some horrible clones they are so horrible in their composition and the synthetic materials used in them is so poor that there is a chance of you smelling horrible instead of smelling good in any case, which we don't want to do. Okay, Some clones that are not better blended, sometimes what happens is the top notes and the middle notes are all over the place, and it is a bloody pandemonium when it comes to sniffing. The dry down or the opening, it's all over the place. And oftentimes, instead of smelling good, instead of a better proposition as a clone, it becomes the opposite. Now, on to my last point. I know it's been really quick onto the last point, but if there's any more you'd like to add, please feel free to add them in the comment section below. Lastly, you will eternally be placed in the not so cool for the game squad by the original and niche snobs. Now, there is realistic possibility of you receiving slanders from Lord, from let's say, let's call them Lord Snobbery, sitting on their Mount Snob, dissing you out throughout the multiple forum of fragrance where you may share your cologne clone. So if you're up for the task, if you're defiant, if you're resistant, and if the opinions of a select few self-proclaimed elites of the game does not faze you, you're cool. But if it does, may Lord have mercy on your soul. I pray for your soul, my friend. Now, some examples of the slanders you may receive could stretch from scathing and robust accusations, such as some people could go from saying your product is a counterfeit or you don't deserve to be in the game, to statements like, I have never smelled a clone that smells remotely close to the original. Now, if you can put up this wall of endurance against the adversity of such frugal and, quite frankly, insignificant group of people from Fracom, you're cool. Now on to my next part of this video, which are the pros. So the first point is fairly an obvious point. Clones are an economic version of the original. So depending on the quality of the clone versus the price proposition, you may find that it is not quite taxing on the wallet on most occasions. If you are someone with limited resources to invest on fragrances, this could be your means to an end if you want to try out a popular DNA at a lesser price. Secondly, for some of the people in Fracom, the it factor for a fragrance is compliments. To them, if your clone gets compliments, it's a winner. Thirdly, there is often indistinguishable differences between the clone and the original in the noses of the masses. What do I mean by the noses of the masses? So normally with clones, there's just some nitpicking here or some nitpicking there on the opening or somewhere in the middle. But if it's a good clone, oftentimes it will do its best to resemble the original. And in doing so, to an average Joe, it won't appear as a clone, but rather the original. So it is, quite frankly, indistinguishable to people who are non-frag heads or people who are not into fragrances. Most of the time, with huge brands, you just pay for the brand recognition and the presentation, if it's a $300 bottle. Fourthly, there is no denying that the clone, there's a hunger, there's a niche for clone companies, okay? There is a hunger in the market for this kind of fragrances, and hence they're made, and they do brilliantly, really, in the fragrance world. They also drives the industry's traditional name forward to be more creative. As the saying goes, imitation is the finest form of flattery. Now, referring back to the analogy that I've given you about the five-star hotel, while a five-star hotel may not have the finest restaurant, it still manages to be a 5-star because of the whole package it provides. Now, similarly, if in a clone all you're looking for a particular aspect of the fragrance in question, for instance, you're looking for the dry down or the performance in case of any reformulation with the original, then if one aspect appeals to you for a clone, then it's a winner. Okay, so not all 5-star hotel has the finest restaurant, but if the restaurant is all you have in mind, then maybe you're better off selling for a 3-star. Another point to ponder upon is, well, good clone oils paired with the original can substantially increase the performance of the fragrance. In that case, you the value for what you pay for doubles. Also, if you pair the original with the clone, this could help you save some sprays from your original bottle, provided that the clone mixing with the original does not disintegrate the complexity the original provides. Furthermore, if the fragrance is discontinued, clones can offer you an alternative avenue to smell similar to the pre-formulated fragrance. And in most cases, where having clones like that will result in you having a better performance than the reformulated original. Sometimes your frame of mind concerning a fragrance can impact on your judgment. Either it's a clone or it's not, but at the end of the day, it's just a fragrance, and as long as it serves the golden thread of the game, which is smelling good, the brand name shouldn't sway you away from it. So if you're looking at cologne in isolation and not as a clone, and if you're satisfied with every aspect of it, then it's fine. You don't have to label it down. Okay, sometimes it's just our frame of mind concerning a fragrance what matters. And lastly, which is a pro in my opinion, is oftentimes the clone companies copy the original easily because the originals are just cheap execution of an expensive idea. So the customers perceive it as a brilliant clone instead of a poor original. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Aventus, anyone? Shots fired! And what are my thoughts on clones? Well, personally, I think clones are fertile grounds for testing popular DNA if you're not sure if that original will work for you. So is decanting, but with clone, what you get is a extended period of wear time, albeit a lesser quality. But in my opinion, one good clone of an original that you really love could serve you even after you own the original. That way you can save your spray and it could act as a secondary option. In that sense, clones are winners as they give you more wear time and serves as a secondary artillery in your arsenal. And I am not pioneering the clones over the originals in any case. Originals will always be the originals. They are the originators. Nothing will beat the originals. If a person who is into cars or watches has the money to buy a Rolex or a BMW, obviously he's going to go for that. He's not going to go for a cheap knockoff because he's obviously invested in that hobby. So if you can own the original, go for it. But if your means are limited and you want to test the waters and you're not sure if the DNA will work for you, go for the clones. But in any case, I've presented you both the pros and cons of clones. If there's more you'd like to add to the discussion, please feel free to drop down your comments below. And as always, the Frankenstein has spoken.